Hey, in this playlist, what we're going to run through is something I've never seen any of the LinkedIn gurus, LinkedIn experts ever reveal or go through in as much detail in a step-by-step framework. And what that is an entire conversation going through how I connected to a complete stranger, how I got talking to them to a point where we then booked a meeting with them. So I'm going to reveal everything, and in this video, we're going through a conversation that led to a face-to-face meeting. So stay tuned and check out the whole playlist because it will give you tons of examples, literally going through all the messages to show you how we do it, how we tailor it to the person, and get that call booked. In this conversation, I'm going to go through one I had in an industry or sector that I really didn't expect to get a lot of great response, and that's in the construction or trades industry. I just expected these are the types of people to be less active compared to professional services. But here we go. I'm going to show you an example, go through the conversation, and highlight key elements, which really helps me get this meeting booked. So the outcome of this was a face-to-face meeting. Let's get straight in. First message I sent was part of an outreach campaign. So this went out to tens, if not hundreds of people. For this one, I wanted something short, snappy, that felt personalized and was easy to reply to. So in this one, just, hey, first name, do you do a lot of networking? You look familiar. And then I deliberately spelled familiar wrong and corrected it with a follow-up message. Now with that, this can be something that comes across very human and genuine, and the correction just makes it feel human and authentic. This is something that I've started to see a lot of, where I get, like, we all experience spammy outreach messages, and I've noticed this more and more. So whether or not it will still work, like when I'm recording this as of August 25, it works quite well. But I think having this single message is what makes it more believable compared to when you get a long spammy message. I've had it before with voice notes where I get a voice note, it cuts out, and then they're like, oh, sorry about that, my voice note cut out, and it's like the most robotic voice. But the whole key thing is here, it's just about networking. It's not about selling something. And that's my whole process, and the process we use with clients. We're never looking to be spammy and just start selling. We're looking to network, just as you would in a real life networking event. Like as an example, I'm in BNI, like a networking group. The idea is you go every week. As members, you build up a rapport, get to know each other, and as you get to know, like, and trust each other, you will then refer each other to your best clients and beyond. So what I'll do is, as I go through this conversation, relate it to that. Like this whole conversation you could have at a networking event. So imagine going to a networking event and you're just like, oh, hey, well, at BNI we have like name badges and it's got your name and your company and stuff with sometimes a logo. So you could just walk up to someone and say, but Bob's not their real name, by the way. But I could just walk up and be like, oh, hey, Bob, do you do a lot of networking? You look quite familiar. And then being like, not really, but I do own a whatever business. We work around Kent, London. So it's just one of those faces maybe. That's a very real conversation. Like when you think of a lot of the spammy messages you receive on LinkedIn where it's like, hey, Bob, great to meet you. Feel like we've got some huge synergies with what we do. Currently, we're offering 20% off if you start this month. Would you like to book in a call next Wednesday at 5? It's like, imagine saying that at a networking event. And that's what we do with a lot of our conversations, is imagine saying it at a networking event. And this is something you can do with your messages. Just read them out loud. And if it sounds as awful, then it's going to be even worse on the written page. One thing though, with you want to be careful of and wary with outreach campaigns, like I'm trying to do something that feels personalized but can apply to a large number of people, can be scalable, which is really hard to achieve. But this is something that I found works quite nicely. But there will always be anomalies in these campaigns, because this was like where I was going through Sales Nav, using the filters I wanted, got the list of people, put them into the campaign. And this actual example is a key one where their LinkedIn profile was actually just a company logo. So saying you look familiar is a bit of an awkward one. And I remember that their reply came up and I was like, oh God, that's awkward. Like whatever, you get over it. But their logo is their profile picture, not them. But they responded as if literally I thought they looked familiar. So that's great. And this is where I corrected it. And I feel like I recovered the conversation well here. Because then I went on to like, oh, do you have sign written vans? Really recognize the logo. Looks familiar. And then I brought the conversation into LinkedIn. Like, we can help solve the problem of finding customers on LinkedIn. So let's get the conversation about LinkedIn in a very non-salesy way. And the thing that I could do with Bob here is, because he works in a trade-based business, like my first company was a trade-based business, and it still is. So I can relate to a lot of what they're trying to achieve. I understand their problems. especially with like just projects coming in and clients asking for things last minute, always wanting it done yesterday. So as we go through this conversation, you'll see elements of that, and by the end, you'll see how this became a booked meeting. So as we progress from I've recovered from that, I've said it's their logo, maybe they have vans going around. I've then brought it into a conversation about what their ideal client is and the type of work they want to do. So this is where they opened up about commercial rather than domestic. And they said one thing that so many people say to me is they get most of their business through word of mouth. And this has become something that is like the key problem that we solve. And this is just from where I had so many conversations with prospects and people that are my ideal client. And the more questions I asked, the more I learned about their business. And I learned that a lot of them would use this statement as a flex to be like, oh, most of our work is from word of mouth. And it's great. It means you've got a phenomenal reputation, your customers love what you're doing, and they're therefore recommending you on. The downside is it's just not scalable. So if someone wants to grow their business, which is most business owners, relying on word of mouth and getting most of your business through word of mouth just means that you can't predictably scale. Because if you want to take on more team members, if you want to look at revenue targets, profit targets over the next few quarters or few years, you can't just have those targets and go, right, hopefully we'll get more word of mouth. You need to have a way that you're going to bring an influx of prospects and how you're going to convert them to make that growth that you want predictable and scalable. So that's where I've realized the biggest problem that we solve is people to get most of their work through word of mouth. So that's what I lead with, like when I'm in networking and stuff and jump on calls. The first thing in our pitch deck talks about we work with established business owners. They get most of their work through word of mouth and help them turn it into something predictable and scalable. That often catches people's attention. So what I'm doing in this conversation is just getting into Bob's business. As I said, their ideal client, how long they've been trading, the fact that they're smashing it with word of mouth. I'm being very complimentary. Literally translate this to, like, I'll just read through it. Imagine it being at a networking event. Not really, I do own a business in this. We work around Kent and London, so maybe I've just got one of those faces. Oh, have you got a sign written van? Maybe I've just seen it around. Has LinkedIn helped with you? So, well, obviously we're on LinkedIn. So in a networking event, I could, if I'm wanting to get onto LinkedIn, I could be like, has this networking helped your business? You're in a trade. I've found Facebook was easier to get work from. My first business was trade-based. So if I'm in a networking event, I'd be like, you're in a trade. Like, do you find Facebook quite good? It's just what my first business was trade-based and Facebook seemed to be the easiest place to get work. No, we use word of mouth and sources we have within the industry. I've tried social media, but the cost is expensive compared to a return. So I found a pain point here. He's opened up. And then I went on the profile and noticed he had less than 2 years in business. So obviously I can do that on LinkedIn. It makes it easier to network. So this is something personalized. Like I've actually done some research, gone on his profile and complimented him saying, he's smashing it with the word of mouth. And then I'm diving into that pain point where he said about managing socials and asked, was it from managing socials yourself or as in you've had a social media manager doing it themselves, but always doing more work? And this is then when I'm like, more work? What work do you want, commercial or domestic? And then I think this is what Matt LeCave refers to as lubing the chat. Like I'm showing empathy, I understand his problems, I've been in his shoes, I've got a trade-based business, and saying like, I worked for a decorator years back, then I started my garden maintenance business. It was always going to be garden maintenance or decorating, very green finger family. Something I want to note here, generally, when you're talking to people that are more construction or trade-based, where they spend most of their time on the tools out on site, even if they kind of come off the tools and spend more of their time office-based, this still runs that they often don't like to do a lot of messaging, and their replies will be very quick, short, to the point, whereas professional services are more likely to give you a paragraph of text or multiple paragraphs. So I'm tailoring my messaging to match their cadence. So in this example, Bob is very short, it's just one-liners kind of thing. He's starting to open up, starting to become a bit more conversational here, like he's having a laugh. So I'm matching that. I'm like, in this, I tell a story. Someone that was professional service that was giving me paragraphs of text, I would go back with more of a story and more details. Whereas because Bob here is being very short, concise, I want to match that and make it very easy to skim over. So it's just identifying what you want, commercial or domestic, rather than being like, more waffly about it. I'm just to the point. And then with this, I could have gone into all kinds of details and made it more of a story, but I'm trying to get to the point quickly and build trust and show that I'm familiar with the shoes that he wears. And then as soon as he reveals it's commercial work, I then just say, oh, I've got some ideas of how you can do it through LinkedIn. And this is when I propose a call or grabbing a coffee, which now when I look back, this might be a bit quick and I'm surprised it worked. But yeah, he said, oh yeah, we can arrange something. But again, keeping with the short, sweet. And this is when we go to arrange something in person, then working out the days. On this, I'm the one taking the lead. Like, I don't want him to put any work in. I don't want him to put any effort in. It needs to be making it as easy as possible, the least friction as possible. I'm not just going to send him a calendar invite to be like, yeah, book in, because guess what? He would never do it. I want to check when he's available and book something in and then send him an invite to it so it comes up in his calendar, so we're all good. What I focused on in this conversation was Tuesdays. Reason being, we're meeting in person, like that's also a common sign of people that are trade-based or construction-based. They'd rather meet in person than on a Teams call, whereas professional services are more used to online calls. And given that we want to work in a certain geography, it's fine to focus on that. But what I do is, where I mentioned BNI, with BNI, there's incentives around bringing visitors. They're a whole word of mouth organization. The whole thing is coming together and networking. And as members, as you build that know, like, and trust, you then refer each other. So it's word of mouth. And then the way that they get more members in is you get a great return as being part of BNI. So then you want to refer it to people and recommend they come along. So I often use BNI as a vessel to meet people, and for multiple reasons. One is by meeting them in person, it's helping build that know, like, and trust. Like for Bob here, we've just met online essentially and started talking. Why would he trust me other than the fact I'm being really helpful here? So by meeting in person, it helps solidify that. He can see I'm a real human, have a real conversation. Secondly, in my BNI, it's a room of people that trust me. They already know, like, and trust me, and some of them are my clients. So by bringing Bob here along to that meeting, he is seeing me in a room of people that trust me and can then big me up, and not even just promoting me or selling me, but even just real conversations about the work that we're doing for them. So this helps even more. It's just building that social proof and giving him more reason to trust me. Thirdly is I get my BNI bonus points, and that helps build my credibility and authority in BNI as well. If I'm someone that can bring along visitors, then that's going to gain me more respect, it's going to gain me more trust. So it's just a win-win-win. Plus, Bob here could make some great connections and may or may not join. And one other thing I did, so in this, there was, as I kind of started the chat, I could see he was a bit like, why is this guy messaging me? What does he want? And my goal is always just to be really helpful. That's my top secret sales tip. I'm just here to be really helpful, offer some resources. Like a lot of what I send to people in chats, in other examples, other videos we'll go into, you'll see where I've got like a handful of different videos that are very short to the point, and they're just helping someone overcome a problem, maybe through a case study or just me breaking down things on a sheet of paper, giving them notes and explaining it. And then we've also got our free resources we give away, like the LinkedIn playbook. If you haven't got that, check it out, because it's just our step-by-step process on how to get clients on LinkedIn. So I share all of this stuff with the goal that if I'm just really helpful, people will just see what we can do for them and then just think, oh, sod this, do it for me. And I tie that into BNI as well. So for example, where I then go through the conversation, and this is where it was like, oh, I can't do Friday. And then we rearrange, so we get something booked in for a Friday. Like I tried to do BNI, he wasn't available. So we get something for a Friday. He then is like, oh, can we reschedule? Long-standing customer's got this thing done, wants this thing done. That's no issue, like I've experienced that before. So again, I go back in and I'm just like empathetic about it. I'm like, yeah, it's no problem, let's rearrange. Then it comes around that he is free on a Tuesday. So then it's like, here's the details, sort out what food he wants there. And something else I do to help see the benefit and to make him want to go more. Like so far, we're just people that have been talking on LinkedIn. I've given them a couple tips, said I've got some ideas that we can go through in more detail. And so realistically, how incentivized is Bob here to actually come to my BNI meeting, meet me, get chatting about LinkedIn and get customers? Like maybe he does feel incentivized, but I don't think he's that incentivized. So I try and tie it into another member there. Who could he gain from in that room? And likewise, could refer to them as well. So this is where there was someone else in the room who's in the trade sector, different industry, but a trade as well. So they have opportunity to refer each other. So I'm like, oh, Bob, you need to meet so-and-so. He works in this industry. I think there's a lot of scope there where he could recommend you and vice versa. So it could be a mutual win for you both. So it gives him another reason to actually show up to this meeting. Plus I keep the conversation going. So then I just go through sharing their numbers so they can speak to each other. So, and again, it's ticking many boxes. One is helping him build a know and like in me because I'm referring him to people and being like, oh, you should speak to this person. I think you could work together and help each other out. So that helps solidify trust. Secondly, I'm doing my bit for BNI. Someone in the room, I'm helping them out, giving them an opportunity to work with someone. So it's doing a lot there, and altogether that just helps build my credibility, help people build trust in me and see me as someone to work with. So yeah, pass those numbers, sort everything out, and then sure enough, he showed up. This is then where I followed up, where I was like, great to meet you in person. Yeah, friendly bunch, blah, 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 blah. He's too busy to join at the moment and everything. But this is where I've stopped the conversation. So we've now met in person and gone through a few bits when we met in person, and then we're just, he's keen to chat through what we can do for him on LinkedIn. As I say, he wants more commercial work. So this is just an example I wanted to give here of how you can book a meeting and meet someone through LinkedIn, build that know, like, and trust to the point where people want to work with you. You don't always have to meet in person. I've got other examples that are coming later on in the series where I've never met someone face to face. We've done a Teams call, gone through stuff, and then turned them into a client. But this was one example. If you want to see how you can do it all yourself, get the LinkedIn playbook. We go through the step-by-step of getting clients through LinkedIn. That is how to design your profile for your ideal client, the type of content you want to be making, how to engage with them, and then how to get conversations started, connect to those people, start talking to them, and get meetings booked. So if you comment book on this video below, if you're watching on YouTube, comment book below, and I'll just send you the link to it so you can find it easily. Otherwise, you have to go through our website, go on my LinkedIn and find it. But if you've got any other questions, put them in the comments below. Any other information you want, any other questions you've got around these types of conversations. We're going to be sharing a lot more from Cameron and my team and myself of just how we've gone through and closed clients.